Welcome back to War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. My guest today is an incredibly impressive young man. I'm intimidated by all teenagers, let alone a teenager with moral clarity who went to prison instead of joining the IDF. That is way cooler than anything I ever did as a teenager. The coolest thing you could be as a teenager and in general is an anti-genocide, anti-occupation, conscientious objector. So joining us from Tel Aviv, I'm grateful to have Iddo Elam. Welcome.
Grateful to be here.
So you're in Tel Aviv. How are, for lack of a better term, the vibes right now? We're recording this on September 16th, so we know anything can change any 5 minutes.
As a city, the vibes are normal. I mean, you walk around the streets, people are drinking coffee, going out to bars, doing whatever they would have done on a normal day. But obviously, yesterday our army started its ground offensive into Gaza City, or not started but continued. And you do feel it in both, tonight there's big anti-government and also anti-genocide protests all over the country. And also, it's a bit it's sadder than usual because people obviously in Tel Aviv, even if they do not agree with us about the whole fact that we are committing genocide, they might do still see this move as something that will, kill the hostages and end any deal that's on the table.
Tell me about your journey to refusal. When did you decide?
I decided to refuse, I think, when I was 16 or so. It was before October the 7th. I was active against the occupation in various leftist organizations since the age of 14. So for me, 2 years in, basically, into activism, it was clear that, I either not go to the army or I am a part of the same systems that I protest against. At the age of 16, it was clear to me that not only shouldn't I go to the army, but I should make it public, and I should make it a part of my activism. So I decided to refuse, basically to enlarge the voice of the anti-occupation activism that I do, because here in Israel, the army is so central that everybody that's refusing it is you cannot ignore it. Even people that hate us have to say that they hate us once we do this, and they cannot stay silent about it.
What was your anti-occupation work as a teenager? You continue to be the coolest teenager I've ever met.
It was both within the Hadash party, what we call in English the Democratic Front for Peace and Equality. It's a political party that runs for parliament. It's a socialist Jewish Palestinian party. So both in those circles of joint Jewish Palestinian activism, but also, going to the West Bank, seeing some of the communities in Masaf Ariata, and going to East Jerusalem neighborhoods, which their citizens were back then and are still under threat of displacement, and seeing all of these things, how both Palestinians in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem and even in my own country are second-class citizens, if not worse, was basically it really made me think about the occupation and about my society. And I think that when I grew up, even though my parents accept my opinions and agree with most of my opinions, they did not tell me what to think. They did not made me, commemorate Nakba Day or something. So arriving at those conclusions only when I was 14 was kind of shattering for me, because all of my childhood was basically broken, because I had fun, I loved being Israeli, I was feeling very Israeli growing up, and then I understood that that whole reality is based on the oppression of another people.
Wow. And yeah, most 14-year-olds are just going to Israel for the first time for their bar mitzvah, or yeah, just freshly after their bar mitzvah. So that's peak propaganda time in the diaspora too. And it's interesting. We got a lot of dehumanizing rhetoric. We never learn about the occupation. It wasn't until university that I heard the O word. But by virtue of being there on the ground and meeting Palestinians, is that what punctured the bubble?
So I think both that, because I mean, saying now that I have Palestinian friends and comrades, that is a big part of the reason that I think the way I do, because, you know, even though I met some Palestinians growing up, it wasn't sitting down with them, having conversations, working together, protesting together. That really creates a human connection that cannot be broken by propaganda. So both that and just in general researching on my own. I mean, COVID times, 2020, 2021, I had a ton of time at home just researching about different movements, different history, seeing both in the United States BLM and like the Trump era and stuff like that. So like for the first time I actually started understanding systems of oppression and racism and stuff like that, because like I said, I mean, I grew up knowing that I'm supposed to be a leftist, but I had no idea what that means. I had no idea what actual struggles are here. So once I actually met both Jews and Palestinians who are fighting against occupation, and basically started going weekly to protests and meetings and organizing spaces, I realized that, I mean, that basically these are the only people that I can see have a different opinion than the mainstream, because from Netanyahu to his opposition, basically every politician here doesn't talk about the occupation and doesn't offer any solution to it. So it was clear to me that maybe I should start meeting and listening to these other people.
That's amazing. And tell me about the process of refusal. For people who don't know, um, yeah, just how mandatory is the military?
It's completely mandatory for someone like me. I mean, all Jews at the age of 18 are supposed to enlist. Many ultra-Orthodox Jews do get exemptions. It's a long history, but now it's a big debate in Israel on why they get exemptions and should they get exemptions. I personally believe that that debate is irrelevant because there's a genocide happening. But so at 18, basically, they give you a date in which you're supposed to enlist. It can be a year after or like 1 month after your birthday, but basically just immediately after 12th grade. We, as Refuseniks, go to our enlistment date. We don't like just not arrive. We come. In my case, we organized a protest on that day. So we protested outside the enlistment base for a few hours. Then I and a fellow Refusenik went into the enlistment base, started the process like by coming on the bus and like going in. But once they actually wanted us, you know, to get our soldier ID number and the uniform and all of those stuff, we just told them we are here to refuse. We will not do any of this process. And to that, after a lot of confusion and people that don't know what to do with us, they put us in jail for the rest of the day. At night, we were put in front of this high-ranking military officer. She is basically responsible for all enlistments in all of Israel. She judged us on our refusal. It's not like you have any due process in this thing. It just like she tells you like how bad you are and you should be ashamed of yourselves, and like, did you forget October 7th and all of those stuff. Then she told us our punishment is 30 days in prison. We went back to do our jail cell, and few hours after that, only like way into the night, we went on a bus to prison, which is outside of the city of Netanya in Israel, where we stayed. I mean, we arrived in like 3 a.m. maybe, and then we were there for the next 30 days. This is the process. You just immediately go to prison unless you have any reason for an exemption or something like that.
Holy shit. Yeah, that does not being jailed for your political beliefs. That doesn't sound like the only democracy in the Middle East to me. That is objectively a fucked up thing. So how long were you in prison?
I was in prison for a month. Luckily, I managed to not go back. Many of my friends sat in prison a long time, much more time than me. Once I went out for the next like 2 months, I was just going back to the enlistment base, trying to convince them to release me, giving them letters, giving them lawyer lawyer letters, psychiatrist, and all of that, till like they finally, after like many times that they told me no, you need to enlist, they decide to release me. Not on any like, just so you understand, like I for like 2 months I had to sleep there and go back and spend the whole day there and get berated by officers and stuff like that for no reason. And in the end, after many times they told me no, the psychiatrist, military psychiatrist that I met, told me, I don't want to release you and you shouldn't be released, but we are very swamped right now and we don't want to deal with you, so just go. He basically yelled at me, even though he's a psychiatrist. But so I was lucky on that front. But like friends of mine in the past year, like my good friend Itamar Greenberg sat for 6 months. Another friend sat with the first Refusenik since October the 7th, also sat for 6 months. Some sat 3 months. I mean, it's very changing depending on the case, because everybody has its own reasons to get released or not to get released, and they're kind of playing a game with us on how much they want to punish us and how much they don't want to like give us attention.
Wow. So in a way, yeah, you got lucky in that they weren't in the mood to do more paperwork that day. That's what determines the course of your year. That's brutal. And were you with other Refuseniks in prison?
So yes, I mean, when I was in prison, I had the guy that entered with me on the same day. He was not with me in prison because prison is basically different divisions. It's very military language and talk. I mean, it's not like you don't have guards, you have officers, you don't have a warden, you have the base commander and stuff like that. And you're basically in uniform. You're a soldier there. You're not a prisoner. So the guy that entered with me was in a different division. Another Refusenik, Itamar, which was his already fourth time in prison, he was in another division. And with me, in my division, there was a fellow Refusenik for my first week before he was released also. Yeah, I mean, it did help a lot because this guy was already 3 months in prison, on and off, because he was like released every month or so. So he very much helped me. And in the end, I think that this community that we have of Refuseniks and past Refuseniks and future Refuseniks helps a ton, because I wouldn't know the first thing about prison life or about what to bring to prison if I didn't have like many conversations before that. Like, you know, they basically like take everything that they can. So you need to know which specific blanket you can bring and which specific, you know, you have this CD player that you can bring, stuff like that. So that's like the information we are giving each other all the time.
Wow, yeah. Were you allowed to bring books? How did you spend your days? And did you regret it at any point while in prison?
So yes, you can bring books, you can bring a CD player, a very simple one, and you can bring like, crossword or something like that. Uh, Besides that, you don't have a lot. You have like sometimes football games or like movies, but not always. It's very boring. You don't really do anything the whole day. You're just like counting the days till it's over. And also, they give you some jobs. I mean, you need to wash dishes, wash the prison yard. You need to go help with this and that, which is sometimes like helps you pass the time, but sometimes it's also like extremely annoying because you need to. I mean, for example, I'm a vegetarian and I needed to like wash a lot of meat from dishes forcefully. I did not regret going to prison ever, but I did have like very hard times sometimes because you have like 7 minutes a day on the phone. You're waiting in line of 100 people. You have 7 minutes with family, friends, and stuff like that. In the end, it was a bit more, but it's still not enough. Besides that, you get like one newspaper every week, and that's basically all the information and all the contact you have with the outside world. And you get like only one family visit every 2 weeks. So in the end, it's like it's very isolating. It's very lonely. All the people that are with me in prison are obviously soldiers. So most of them disagree with my political decision, and most of them do not really like Refuseniks. But I was lucky that I was with like fairly okay people. Most of them didn't want any trouble or didn't want to like intimidate me. They just sometimes like joked around at my expense. And some of them were actually really nice. I mean, because we're in a Jewish podcast, I would say that like for me, the first time I put on tefillin was in prison. I mean,
Wow. The
yeah, I
Chabadniks
mean,
didn't get you on Ben Yehuda, that they got you in prison.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm not very religious, but like in prison, but when you have nothing to do and like this guy's trying to persuade you, like why not? Who cares? And it was very interesting for me, the experience to go to synagogue and stuff like that, and you have like rabbis that like visit you and stuff like that. It's a very very interesting and weird place that has very dark corners, very horrible corners. You get yelled at and berated and all of that. It's basically like a boot camp, but at the same time, it's like a very, I don't know how to say it, like a building moment. You get a lot out of it, and you meet some people that you wouldn't meet in the streets of Tel Aviv.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if the other people in prison who were soldiers told you about why they were there, but how bad does it sounds like the army has been very very permissive with behavior for soldiers now, or at least from what I've seen on Instagram that the soldiers themselves have posted. So how bad does a soldier have to be to get into military prison? Like what are their crimes? Because it's not
Mhm.
the war crimes.
Yeah, it's not war crimes. None of them are there for like murder or something. It depends on the division. In my division, most of the people, for example, did not return to the base in time. We're talking about mostly people from lower social economic backgrounds. I met people that, for example, just decided one day, I'm not returning to the army because I need to work and feed my family. I met people with children who are in prison. I met people that, just like wanted a weekend off and were punished for that. You do meet some people that, hit an officer. at a fight or something like that. In other divisions, you have like drug dealers and worse stuff like sexual offenses and stuff like that. But that wasn't, those people are not with me. But mostly we're talking about like regular like offenses, like not returning in time, you know, not being not having your uniform ready in time, stuff like that. And when you repeat those offenses, they usually end up in prison. And that actually is interesting because even though they are soldiers, a lot of them do hold resentment for the IDF. A lot of them, very like it's like my thing that I always say, that like in my head, a person can talk with you, a conversation, and in a span of a few sentences say, you know, like fuck the army, and also a few seconds later we need to kill all the Arabs. So like it's not that they are morally disagreeing with the army, but they just hate the system.
Yeah. Tell me, how common is it to hear such blanket genocidal statements?
Yes, I mean, you also hear, I mean, that it's the most amount of soldiers that I ever met, because I usually do not hang around with IDF soldiers, but um, I also heard like people talking about their time in Gaza and Lebanon and stuff like that. I mean, people basically confessing to, not like, I never heard somebody actually confess to like a major war crime, but like, you know, just shooting for fun and, you know, blowing stuff up and stuff like that. They talk about it very regularly. And we obviously know from reports that it's permissible basically in all cases to just blow stuff up for no reason, as we see in videos of IDF soldiers celebrating their birthday with bombs and stuff. So those people I heard too. Some obviously also were in worse state of minds because of PTSD and stuff like that. I did hear of people talking about like losing friends and not wanting to return to war because it was bad. But yeah, I mean, it did not meet more than a few people that I actually had meaningful talks with about, you know, Palestinians and stuff like that.
And now, on the outside, so tell me about your activism, or what your daily life is now that you're out.
So it's basically very similar to before. Um, it changed a bit because I quit my job now, but in general, we are just protesting every week. I mean, like I said, tonight there is a protest, but usually there's at least 2 to 3 protests that I am a part of every week. On Friday, we're having like a solidarity thing with the flotilla. And just last week, we had a few protests. Besides that, I'm doing organizing behind the scenes. I mean, stuff that usually people do not hear of, you know, helping graphic design for like posts on Instagram. I am also a part of um, youth movements. We organize youth, and we meet every week, talk about, you know, the history of the occupation, about socialist Marxist thinking, about what this and that, whatever it might be on that time. And besides that, we are doing advocacy, I would say. I mean, like this podcast today, we're doing different interviews, podcasts, talks with people from international audiences, trying to basically get support, get our message across, that we are Israelis, but we are anti-genocide, anti-occupation, and we are fighting with Palestinians, because I think even though we are in very joint organizations, parties, and stuff like that, still many people do not know about it, because we are, hidden behind all the horrible news and all the mainstream stuff that is all around. And the most important thing for me is the organizing we do, which we talk with people in the streets and in schools and whenever we can. The main thing that I always say that I refused in order to reach other young people, in order to break the wall that is considered like unbreakable, which is that you must go to the army. Even if somebody does not refuse, we at least spread the word about the fact that there are people that are not going to the army. There are people that are managing to get exemptions and stuff like that. And many people just do not hear about it, and many people have never heard about it. And it's very important for us to talk with these young people, talk with their parents even sometimes, so they have backing, they have support, they know that even if their parents disagree with them, even if they have pressure on them, they can still choose to do otherwise.
Have people gotten more receptive? As I'm obviously I'm biased, but the longer this goes on, the more Bibi refuses to accept a hostage deal. The I I as a I don't have kids, but I can't imagine sending a kid to the army
Yeah.
knowing the A, what they'd be asked to do, and B, that if they were taken hostage, the government wouldn't give a shit. Like, is that starting to seep into people?
So that exactly does seep a lot into society right now, because you have a whole movement of actually, you have a few movements. You have the reservists who are refusing, which are not like us. Most of them, almost all of them do not go to prison. But we are talking about thousands of people that do not return to their army service because they do not want to kill the hostages. They do not disagree with the war crimes being committed. Everybody's for their own reasons. Besides that, you have IDF soldiers who are saying that they don't want to return to the army, not because they disagree with the war or something, just because for them it's crazy that all the time they are, going back and back to the same places, basically not achieving anything, risking their own lives, because this government is not doing anything to, achieve its goals of dismantling Hamas or something like that. Whether we agree with the goals of our government or not, they are also not doing any of them. They are very much failing, and many soldiers are seeing that and saying that they do not want to be a part of this failure. You have many people that went to the army and now are suffering from PTSD, who are yelling every week in the Knesset about the fact that they are not getting any help, any support. More and more of their friends are killing themselves because they are suffering from horrible PTSD from the war. And besides all that, you have the hostage families who for a while now have been calling for the end of the war. But now more and more of them are getting more radical, saying that we should refuse, saying that we should stop supporting Netanyahu's government, stop participating in the war. Which obviously it's not all of the hostage families, but even if some are saying that, that is a big thing. And we saw in the past few weeks, like hundreds of thousands of people in the streets in support of the hostage families, which is a big step in numbers and in towards ending the war, because Bibi is feeling the pressure. It's clear that he's panicking a bit.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. Yeah, so you're 19 years old, eh? So is Bibi like the only prime minister you've really ever known? Like, that guy has been haunting you your entire life.
We had that small mishap with Yair Lapid and Bennett,
Yeah.
but yeah, basically he was the only prime minister I ever known.
So for people who can't see, show us your shirt. So if you're listening, Iddo is wearing a great shirt that says anti-fascist front. And is that made by a group in Israel? Like, tell me about organizing against fascism in
Sure, yeah.
particular, because yeah, fascism is, a cult of personality, a very, yeah, it sounds like having been in prison for their political beliefs. That's living under
Yeah.
fascism. And so, if you have any advice for people in other countries that are just new to that journey.
So this shirt is actually, it's funny. It's by the basically like the communist youth of Cyprus.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's not mine, but I went to
international
Cyprus. Yeah, exactly.
solidarity.
I went to Cyprus to this event. They invited like delegations to it, and I got this cool shirt, and it was like a whole music festival with Palestine flags and stuff like that. It was very cool.
And
Besides, mm,
and just people who listen to a podcast called War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war, probably know this already, but to be in the presence of Palestinian flags, like,
mhm.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't inherently mean violence,
I
anti-Semitism.
have many pictures holding a Palestinian flag. Before October the 7th, we basically every protest held Palestinian flags. It was a part of the usual. But now, if we're talking about fascism, it's basically illegal at this point. It's not officially illegal, but every time you try and hold a sign with a Palestinian flag, an actual Palestinian flag, anything small, big, whatever, you are arrested, or at least the flag is taken. And the reason they give is, disturbing public safety, public peace, something like that. Like literally a reason that can say anything. So yeah, I know many people that have been arrested for a Palestinian flag, and actually very recently we organized in the Hadash party a protest in Tel Aviv, and which we got an official recognized how do you say permit to hold flags. But then not only did many fascists came to counter protest in front of us and were protected by the police, like 2 minutes into the protest, we did not hold any flags yet. The police said there's too much commotion and both sides need to leave now, and started to physically push out all of us back. So yeah, I mean, they are doing basically anything to suppress the Palestinian culture, Palestinian recognition, and anything like that. And when we're talking about fascism, I mean, it's basically the biggest step towards fascism started with this government, because now Ben Gvir, which is openly fascist, openly Jewish supremacist, settler, is in control of our police force and basically commanding them to do whatever he says, and firing all the people that disagree with him. Our police force now is very bad at dealing with any crimes and very good in suppressing free speech and public protests. So yeah, I mean, it's basically every protest now you can expect violence from fascists or the police force, which sometimes also together in unison.
Holy shit! So it sounds like, yeah, it's a great time to get away with murder, and in Gaza, the
Yeah,
West Bank, or at home, it's prime time for.
it's very important for me to say to, I think to international audiences about the crime rate and the murder rate in Palestinian society in Israel, Palestinian citizens of Israel. We're talking about many criminal organizations now who are murdering people in the streets in their own criminal wars. The police are not doing anything about it because some of the criminal organizations are actually informants of the police. And every year now, and since Ben Gvir it's multiplied many times over, we're talking about hundreds of people being killed in the streets of Palestinian towns in Israel just because the police do nothing to stop it, do nothing to solve the crimes. And, you have kids, families who are catching stray bullets and feeling the fear of basically, am I the next victim because I was just standing in the wrong space? And obviously, Ben Gvir does not care because he believes that Palestinians are inherently violent. But that is not true, obviously.
Yeah, we're talking to an international audience. So what do you want people who fancy themselves pro-Israel to know about life in Israel? Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, yeah, people who put their dog tags on, which is a nice show of solidarity, but then don't know that it's Bibi turning down the hostage deal. So if you wear if you wear a necklace, at least read the news.
I would say that I am not pro anything. I think that we should all be pro people. And as an Israeli, that these people are claiming to be pro my nationality and myself, basically, I would say that the only thing that will guarantee my security, my safety, which is in danger because of my government's actions, is a Palestinian state, is Palestinian freedom, is equality, and obviously, first of all, stopping this genocide, because we're talking about it's nothing compared to the children of Gaza. It's nothing compared to the people living in the West Bank. But we still get rockets fired at us. We're still woken up at 4 a.m. By sirens. We're still seeing terrorist attacks in the streets who are killing civilians. All of that can be stopped if we go in a different direction, if we stop our own violence as a country, because I very much believe that violence receives violence, and I very much believe that the Palestinian people, as long as they are oppressed and not allowed any basic human liberty, will not be able to also how can I say it, accept our reality and our safety while they do not get it. I very much believe that the best way to influence, like many pro-Israel people are saying, but the Palestinians, they do not want peace. I am not Palestinian. I cannot change Palestinian public view. I can change Israeli public view. If I try, I can change Israelis' minds. And hopefully, and I very much believe so, when more and more and more, and a majority of people from my Jews that are living here, people from my own people, will support a peaceful solution and the Palestinian state, then we would see the same thing on the other side, like we saw in the 90s, like we saw each time that Israel actually said anything peaceful, we saw the other side reciprocating the same want for a different future. And in the end, you don't need to be pro-Israel and not recognize the suffering of the Palestinian people. Like I said, I'm not myself pro-Israel or something, but why are you trying to play this chess game in which you have to win when we are talking about today, this morning, the UN recognized it as UN inquiry recognized it as a genocide, and our own human rights organizations here in Israel are calling it a genocide. And what we learned through history of the Jewish people is that we must resist the genocide and we must hold true the saying of never again. So like being pro one side and the other side you don't care about is very much foolish and very much risking all of your side per se. I mean, all of Israelis are at risk of fascism, tyranny, rockets, and all of that, whilst all the Palestinians are currently enduring a genocide.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone can look at the past 2 years and think things are getting better, because it's clearly everything's worse for everyone. Obviously, to different degrees. More people, some people are obviously the people in Gaza are suffering the most, but it's not like it's a good time to be Israeli right now. Like, what are you going to do without Eurovision if if they kick you guys out? Like, do you have
It's a huge thing in Tel Aviv, really. It's a gigantic thing here.
like, that's the biggest crisis, like the biggest diplomatic crisis right now is like,
Sure.
yeah. Do you have a favorite piece of bad hasbara? There's the classic
Mm.
invented the cherry tomato. I saw immediately after October 7th, like, I think I saw some like Greater Israel schnitzel. I think like they were selling schnitzels in the shape of the map with the Golan Heights.
Wow. Favorite piece. That's difficult. I'm trying to think about anything that's actually funny, not dark.
But yeah, no, this is a safe space for dark. It's all dark.
um, wow. 1 second, I need to think about it. I mean, I always grew up hearing about like we basically invented everything. I mean, like you said, I mean, cherry tomatoes, the little like discount key that you put in
Yes.
your
The
computer,
USB key. That's my
the
favorite.
USB key, and also we invaded like the modern water like plant distributors and stuff like that, and we are basically just taught again and again how we are amazing at technology and we are the best. And then like once you actually research it, like all of that money and all of those brains are going immediately to like war and like spyware, and like basically we are meddling in every country in the world like through our spyware, which we are selling to them. And you learn like about how many international scandals we were a part of because the spyware used for it, or the drone used for it, or the something used for it was our own technology. So like I think that I grew up like wanting to be like a tech guy and stuff like that, and then I learned that in Israel all your job opportunities are spilled with a lot of blood behind them.
Wow. Yeah. One thing that's pure though is the word disc key, which is objectively
This country,
hilarious. So a USB key, a disc on a key. So
I think it's in the Hebrew language right now, like officially.
official. So that is a victimless Israeli innovation. And what do you want people who categorically write off all Israelis as settlers to know, which I know is not fair, to make blanket assertions about anyone's nationality. You're either for, yeah, that you're either down to do collective punishment or you're not. So you should apply that grace to Israelis.
I would say that like I do not tend to really listen to the loud but small amount of people who hold these views. I mean, most of the people that I interact with in power, actually organizing and not just like writing online,
Good, yeah.
are very much okay with me. I do obviously get a lot of hate, not only from Israelis and fellow pro-Israel crowds, but also from pro-Palestinian crowds who are saying that I'm a settler or something like that. In the end of the day, I was born here. I think that morally we should be against forced displacement and ethnic cleansing. And obviously, my side, I say with air quotes, is the one that is committing those crimes right now, but that doesn't mean we should be pro doing the same to the other side. We are not like, Nakam, the Jewish organization that wanted to kill 6 million Germans. I think that in the end, we need to have morality based on humanity and not on a specific people or a specific struggle. If you are pro-Palestinian and you are a misogynist, if you are pro-Palestinian and you love Elon Musk, love the
Yeah.
billionaires and stuff like that, then that's a problem. I wish that you will change your mind on those stuff. And in the end of the day, like I said, I was born here. My parents have. My father was born here. My mother is Indian. My family, my Ashkenazi family that has lived here since the 1910s, before Israel was created. Many of them were living next to Palestinians with no issues. So like, why should we draw like a line in the sand? Like, oh, people here from this year are not okay. People born here but are like first generation are not okay. People like humans are humans, and I would sound like a bit how do you say anarchistic, but like I'm against trying to put more borders, more fences, and more jails between human beings. I think that we must start from a point we accept the other as a human, and from that point, it's very easy to see a better future and see the end of suffering on all sides.
Yeah, that's empowering. What gives you hope? There is hope to be had, right?
Sure, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm very hopeful for anything. I mean,
But you I'll say, like, but you are you're demonstrating and living through people can live together and work together. They do right now, they have before, and they have again. And they can again.
I'm a pessimist activist. I always say that the only reason that I am demonstrating is because I live here, and the only reason that I live here is because I am a part of the struggle, because I do truly believe that I would just leave this place if I didn't see any way out of, horrible fascism and death. Because I love living here. This is my only home, and I really do want to fight for it. But in the end, it's looking bad. I mean, in the US, it's not looking the best either. In many places in Europe and stuff like that, it's also not looking quite bright. But we are fighting not from a place of like. I mean, I didn't read enough philosophy and stuff, but like, we're not fighting from a place of hope, or at least not like hope that we think that, Palestine will be free next year and like the genocide will end tomorrow and stuff like that. But we're fighting from a place that we know that this system of oppression and the people that are now in power cannot withhold that power forever. I mean, you do see that the more they try to enact violence, the more they have pushback from their own citizens and from the international community. And I truly believe that if fascism is enacted here, and if fascism is enacted anywhere, in the end, it will crumble because it does not hold. And I do truly believe that we, as a people, not the Jewish people, not the Palestinian people, as normal human beings, citizens with no power, do have all the power in the end of the day. Because once we will be oppressed and pushed to the corner, you cannot if you draw like a picture of it, a few dozen people cannot hold millions of people in a corner. And at a certain point, it will just erupt. So I just really hope more and more people join the movement, both in the US and internationally, the movement against genocide, the movement for of the working class, the movement against fascism. And I truly to believe that here in Israel, we are finding more and more people who are joining us, and more people who are realizing that even though maybe a year ago, maybe a month ago, they did not agree with us, they now do. They now do understand our standing.
Well, and the proof is in the pudding, eh? There are objectively more refusers, or at least more
Yeah.
conversations being had.
Yeah, definitely. The Refusenik movement is growing. Compared to a normal year, we are seeing many, many more people refusing. And you do, like I said, you do see the pressure. I mean, if the army did not care about us, they wouldn't put any effort in us. They would just try and like silence us. But they are quite doing the opposite. They are trying to make it seem horrible, punish us, and create an example out of each Refusenik, and they are failing.
That's a case for hope. We got one. And so how? Oh, but before we wrap, who are some people to look up to? Because we need some role models. Um, who do you
Wow.
look up to? And because preferably someone older than me. I'm 31, but
Mm.
I am so impressed with you and grateful for your work. But you're younger than me, so I need someone to look up to who's older than me.
I
Like,
usually would answer this like a politician because I don't want to,
yeah, or
anyone's view be like put on me.
mhm,
But I think that like if we are seeing like specific stuff, if I cherry pick like stuff, I very much look up to the Jewish community in the US, people like you, people who are
that's very
advocating
nice.
for a free Palestine, advocating against the genocide, from positions in the US. It helps a lot. I mean, just like yesterday I saw the video of like what's her name, Hannah.
Hannah Einbinder at the
Yeah,
Emmys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. People like her are very inspirational, seeing how there are people that can lose job opportunities and stuff like that and are still speaking out. She also posted a reel that I edited, so it was cool.
Oh my gosh,
um,
that's an Emmy by yeah. You're
yeah, sure.
1 degree away from an Emmy.
Sure, yeah. So both Jewish communities abroad who are speaking out, people who are in positions of power around the world who are not staying silent, like President of Spain, who is doing a lot. The opposition parties in Italy are doing a lot. Even somebody that, let's not talk about specific ideas and stuff because you might disagree with, but even somebody like Jeremy Corbyn in the UK, you're seeing a lot of resurgent of leftist ideas, leftist parties, because of the genocide, because people understand that the only people who are pushing back on this are from the left and are from the working class. So hopefully this whole horrible situation will at least push for a better future. Here in Israel, I mean, I look up to a lot of people. Most people do not know them, but many of my Palestinian comrades who are facing harsher conditions, harsher police treatment, who are still fighting back, are very inspirational for me. Are members of Knesset, even from the Hadash party, Ofer Kassif, Ayman Odeh, Aida Tuma Saliman. All three of them, I mean, they're basically in a hole of fascism and war crimes, pushing back, getting their pay suspended, getting suspended from Knesset all the time, having their rights as chosen parliamentary people stricken. But they are still holding their ground. And besides that, I mean, if I'm talking to other people, I look up to many of my fellow Refuseniks. I think that you should follow many of my friends who are doing a lot, who are doing protective presence in the Masafrayata and the Jordan Valley, and with communities in the West Bank. These are people who are living very comfortable lives in Israel, like me, and decided to go leave everything and live with Palestinian communities, protecting them, filming their oppression, filming their attackers, and basically risking their lives. I mean, at the end of the day, I think this is the only way forward, which is solidarity and putting ourselves in the same shoes and situations as each other, because only together, I mean, we cannot be stopped. I mean, at the end of the day, Israel is trying to say it's a democracy, trying to say it's the safe place for Jews. But then when we are trying to practice our democratic rights as Jews who are citizens of Israel, we are beaten, arrested, oppressed, and called traitors. So, yeah. And that's very not what you asked, but yeah, I mean, if you have anybody that you look up to and you want to say, I would love to hear also.
Yeah,
I'm bad at this question.
no, that was excellent, and you have the makings of a politician if you have it in you and you're already experienced with hecklers, so it's
Sure, yeah.
just gotta run. Yeah, I think I've spoken to about her on the podcast before, but Miss Rachel being the
Yeah,
unlikely hero, yeah, withstanding trolls. It shouldn't be this lonely to be
yeah,
anti-genocide, but she's doing it and using her platform to advocate for all children.
yeah, she's great.
And yeah, the first person to come to mind. Yeah, I'm desperately seeking good leadership. Um, so please, if you're listening, please let me know who to follow on Instagram, because right now it's all snuff films of war crimes.
Sure.
It's a bleak place. So I can use some inspiring people to intersperse with with the corpses and the trolls. And
And even though all of those stuff are obviously horrible and I mean, I would say scarring. I mean, at this point, many of us, I think, are indifferent to the pictures and videos. People that you made me think about other people that I look up to, which are the reporters and
yes.
Gazans, who are filming and are there on the ground and they are risking their lives more than anybody because Israel is actively seeking them out and exterminating them just because they are telling the truth, just because they are filming it. And every time, if we need to say something to the pro-Israeli crowd, I mean, stop listening to the prime minister's office, stop listening to these people who are committing war crimes. These people are brave. These people are documenting their own lives, their own people's extermination, and they are not committing any crimes, and they are still being assassinated, basically.
Yeah, the crime of existing while Palestinian. Yeah, we owe it to them to at least not mute it. And how can we help? How can we help the movements you're a part of? You personally, I do. Oh, I meant to say, in terms of leadership, hopefully you'll come to New York soon and we can welcome you into Zoran Mamdani's New York.
Sure.
Because that's,
I am holding, how do you say, holding my
yeah,
fingers.
crossed.
Yeah, I very much would like to see him be elected. I think he's a great guy that I agree with on a lot of things, and I very much love New York. I have been in the past. It's a great place. I'm a jazz musician, and I love the jazz clubs there. And I'm trying to come. I need to find my funding and way to arrive because it's extremely difficult and expensive to get out of Israel right now also. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can help us just by liking, sharing, following our journey. Not only me, but our, like I said, the Mesarvot network for conscientious objectors, the Hadash Party, the Young Communist League, Peace Partnership, countless different organizations working here. You should probably follow some accounts about Masafer Yatta and the displacement there. And besides that, you can, I mean, whoever can donate and stuff always. I mean, when you go to protests and the police destroy your megaphone and your drums, it's getting costly at a certain point, and you can donate in a few places. I can send you the links and you can share them if you want.
Yes, please send me any links and
Yeah.
I'll share them in the show notes so
And
anyone
besides
can.
those two things, you can always reach out, talk with us, whether you're just a random person, I usually answer, and whether or not you have your own platform, you want to spread the message, you want to help in different ways, I'm always open to any messages and stuff like that.
Thank you so much, and I hope I can. Since you did me this incredible solid, thanks for coming on the show. I hope I can hook you up with some jazz gigs. I I
Sure.
I don't I don't have any leads just yet, but if you're listening to this and you're in the New York music scene, what instrument do you play?
The double bass.
The double bass. Okay, there's a
I'm a
double
bit lacking though.
bassist.
I don't want to get you too enthused because I kind of don't play enough anymore.
Oh, don't worry. It sounds like you've been busy. It sounds like there's a good alibi, so don't worry about it. But yeah, in a dream world, you'd have the freedom and safety to play just play jazz. That's what everyone
Sure.
deserves.
I agree. I think jazz is will liberate us all.
Amen. Yeah, my uncle in Jerusalem plays the saxophone. He calls himself the jazzman with his accent. Thank you so
No
much,
problem.
Iddo Elam. Solidarity from right now. It's Eric Adams, New York City, but it could be Mamdani's New York City. There is hope. There is leadership if we organize for it.
I agree. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening and or watching War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. Please subscribe, rate and review, tell your dads. We'll see you next time.